In this video, we're going to focus on creating a timeline chart where we create a custom tooltip with the text in here, and as well, if you hover to the next one, it goes down, and then another one goes up again. So let's start to look how to do this in chartjs 4. So to do this, the first thing what we need is our border template, which you can find here on chartjs3.com. Getting started. Once you're on here, scroll down and copy this chunk of code, and you're good to go. Next, if you want to have the source code of this video and many others, check out my Patreon page. And of course, got a question, put it on Discord. Alright, it loads finally. Anyway, let's start with this. So the first thing we are going to do here is convert this, because I want to have a single bar in the center here. So what I'm going to do here is, first of all, I will say index axis and swap the scales. So we have a horizontal bar chart. That's what I want. Then I will remove all the labels here. We don't need that many, or I only want one label here. That will be the one, and that will be eventually the starting point. So to do this, we will be needing, or we need to build our structure property or our data. So in here, I just remove everything. And then in here, I'll make it an object. And in this object, I'm going to say the X value. So let's say here, we have these values here. Now I'll start with the year, and let's say 2000, and here will be 2025. So what I can do here, and we'll say here a min value of 2000, and then a max value will be 2025 or whatever you want. Let's save that. Make sure we have a comma here. Oh, save, refresh. Alright, it gives an error here, probably because we have no data here. So let's start to work with this. So I'm going to make here what we call a floating bar chart. So where I can say the X value have two values, a starting and an ending value. So I say 2000, and let's say here this will be 2010. Then for the Y, we will just put in here the standard value, but you could say here, if I would do year, and I can just change that one, but they need to be identical. Alright, year, and there we are. So now you can see here the years, and this should be maybe a bit more nicer, but leave it as it is. However, what I do want to make sure is that this bar is just far more narrow, because this doesn't make any sense to me. So what I'm going to do here, comma, and then I'm going to say here, this will be the category percentage. The category percentage is basically the size here. How much of that will I be using? By default, it is, if I'm not mistaken, 90 or 0.9 or 0.8, meaning that 80 or 90% of this entire thing is being used. So what I want to do now is to make it extremely narrow. I'll say it will be only 10%, so that'll be 0.1. Once I did this, you can see now the bar gets very narrow, and I think this is a perfect response that I want. So the next thing what I would like to do here is start to add another item. So we're going to just copy all of this, put a comma in there, and then paste it in there, and then I'll do one more. So what I'll say here, this will be from 2010 to 2020. And then we have here another one from 2020 all the way to 2025. Save, refresh, there we are. We have three items here. If I look very carefully, we have no bar here and no, or the ending or the base, the starting point of this bar is missing a border. So what I'm going to say here is comma, let's say here border skip. We set this on false. We want to make sure that there is a border. There we are. Now they're all nice and covering full. I'm going to remove the tooltip because I'm going to make my own tooltip. So I'm going to scroll down here in the skills, put a comma, say here plugins. Then I'm going to say here in the plugins, we're going to say tooltips. Tooltip. Sorry, that should be tooltip without the S. And then we're going to say here enable set to false. Let's remove that one. We don't want that at all. There we are. No more distraction. Now we're going to build our own tooltip. What I will do is, when we hover, I would like to be in the very center, or at least I want the line to be in the center and have a cloud on top. But if I on the next one, I want it pointing downwards, and then another one will be upwards, etc., etc. So to do that, custom plugin, we're going to say here, after the options, we say here plugins, and then in here an array, and we can say here custom tooltip or something, whatever you would like to give it as your name. Constant, the custom tooltip will be the ID of custom tooltip, and then we can say here comma after data sets has been drawn, then we want to draw this. Why after? Because we want to make sure that it is on top of the bar. Show you later on, just like the tooltip, just on top of it. Chart, arc, and plugin options. Then what we're going to do here, object destructuring equals chart. What we need here is probably minimal CTX, definitely, if we want to draw, and we have the data. So then what I'm going to do here is the following. What we would like to know is first, when we hover over the tooltip, at that very moment I want to activate the tooltip, or at least activate our custom shape. So how do we do this? Well, what we need to do is we're going to say here constant, and let's see what we're going to do here for. Well, first of all, we're going to say chart.get data set meta. I want to grab this because all the data that we need will be in here. So this is very useful for us. So for each, and then for every data point, we have here a function error expression, we will do something. So we have this for each method in here. So what I want to do now is, if I say here console log, just say here data point, it will show us probably, well, most likely, which item we're hovering on, or I think it's going to even loop to all. So what I just want is, oh well, I guess group gives us the one that we're hovering on. So this information is very useful because I will need to know on which item I'm hovering. And once I know that, we can start to play around with that. I think here not only even on the hovering, because what I want to do here is we have this, but I don't want the console log straight away active, because what will happen, it will look through every data point here. So that's not the one that we're hovering, but everything. So what I need to do here now is create an if statement. Well, we can just say here, because this is the one I would like to know. Let me show you. Active false. The one I'm hovering is active true, somewhere here. But we can just do that straight away like that. So we're going to say here an if statement. If data point of active equals strict true, in that case I would like to say console log. So that will mean that now we only get the one that we are hovering on top, and that should be active false. Hold on, are we having a console log? Well, only well, I guess it just hovers on each because of this here. So what I would like to do here is, if true, let's see if we can get something here. True, all right, that's the one. So now I'm not sure what happened. Yes, did I do something wrong, or did I not understood it? Anyway, active false. We'll just ignore that for now, and then probably later on I'll just figure that one out, what the reason is. What I do need is, or maybe because I move away from the item, that's why it triggers like that. However, what I need now is I want to get this value here in the context. I want to get the index, or the data index, which is basically the index number of the bar. So what I'm going to say here, dot, and then you can see here $ context. This is not always the best way, because this is probably in process of being changed, or at least there is an intention to change this, but leave it as it is. For now it works, so I'll just use those as a trick. So then what I can do here is, and if you find that not comfortable, I guess we could do here with the index. That is basically the same, I realize. If I just do that one, maybe that's even more practical. There we are. That is way more logical to do. So my bad, just do it like that. That's probably a bit more better. Anyway, now we have this. Let's start to move on. So what I want to do now is I want to make sure we get, well, we need to get some data. the X and Y to start drawing, so we can put in here something. So what I will make is, let's draw a line first. So say make a line, and this line will get, when we hover, we get the index number. So we should get as well here the data point with all the information on that. If I look at that here, I can see here active true. All right, contact active false. Anyway, it doesn't matter. X and Y, and we also have the base. So what is the base? The base is this part here. The X is the very ending value, and then the Y is basically the position where it is right now, which is from the center, and then it gets thicker based on our category percentage. So let's start to work on drawing a line where we started here going upwards. So what I'm going to do here, we're going to say here, this is the line, say ctx.begin path, because I want to create a shape independent of anything else. And I guess what we need to do here is, we can do here ctx.save to save first everything before we do anything else. All right, so now we have that. Then I can say here, what's the color? I'll say ctx.stroke style. Let's give it black. Very straightforward, nothing fancy. And then I want to say the move. So say ctx.move to, and the move to will give us two positions, the X and Y coordinates. I'll get them later on. And then once we have that, that's our starting point. We're going to say ctx.line to, which will be creating the connecting line that will be X and Y as well. So let's start to get the X and Y move to, which is a starting point that will be very center here. So what I can say here is, remember the data point Y. We can just get this one, that's this here. I'll just do it very simple. So data point, because of this for each, which is our shorthand, data point Y. And then we have a data point Y here as well. And then because we want to go from here going upwards, we're going to negative, because this is the 0. Here's somewhere the 0 corner, or basically the higher you go, the more closer to the 0. The lower you go, the higher the value is. So it's in the opposite position. So what I'm going to say here, let's say minus 50. So we make a line going upwards, 50, and then we get here the X. So let's do this first. Grab this, put it in there. We're still not done here, but let's make something. So now what I want to do is, I'm going to say a ctx.stroke to make sure we at least draw a shape. We're going to draw the line. There we are. All right, as you can see here, it moves, but it does trigger based on wherever we are, but it should be more in the center, because the X is the ending, so we have the base. So what I need to do is, I need to know the difference between X and base, divide by that, or at least the difference, divide by 2. So what I can say here is, or can we get the value? I think we have the value here, it's the width. So we have the base and then the X. So what we could do is base plus width divided by 2 will give us the value. So, well, I just give an X. We can just say here minus data point dot width divided by 2, but I think this should be here. Constant width 2 or width half will be that. All right. I just give it a simple name. You can give it a more appropriate term for it. But I'm just showing it here as a sample. All right. So one thing here, of course, is a bit tricky, is that this width here is not giving us straight away the value. So that will mean that if you're hovering like this, you don't see it until it's done hovering. So maybe if we do with the base, divide by 2, maybe that will give it an instant response. I'll leave it for what it is, and we'll see later on. All right, so now we have this part here, so this works. However, I want to make sure that we are also going up and down here. So how do we do this? Well, to do that, I need to get some more logic. Well, I'll do that later on. So let's make the cloud first. So make the cloud with the tooltip, which is just a cloud box here. So what I'm going to do here, I'll say here again, ctx.begin path, create a new shape, and this shape is what we call, I guess we can say here, ctx.round rectangle. The round rectangle is a rectangle with rounded borders, which makes it very easy. Has an x, y, width, height, and a radius. So the radius, I'll just give it 5 pixels, or maybe 10, whatever is nice. So let's say 10 is fine. And then here, the round rectangle, I will just put in here. We know this is our starting point, and then the height, and then we have here the width. So for now, I'll just make the width quite straightforward. I'll just say we have a 100 pixel in width, and the height will be 50. So these will be fixed values. So that will mean that if we're going to put in here the cloud, we need to go up, whatever this is 50 pixels, and then maybe another 50 because of the height, because it will draw from here, it will draw downwards. That's because the height is 50. So that would mean we have, let's grab this, let's put this in here first, then we have to recalculate based on these. So if the width is 100, do we need to go here back 100 as well? Let's see. Well, most likely. All right. Of course, we didn't draw anything yet, so I'm going to say ctx.fill, and I want to make sure that we have the color. So I'm going to grab this, but I don't do it stroke, but I will do a fill style because I'm going to fill it up. Of course, if you want to have a special color, you can use a stroke to have a border color, but I'll just leave it like that. All right, and as you can see here, what we need to do here is we are here with this one. Well, let's fix this first. We know that it goes up 50 and then it has 50 here, so we need to say here minus 100. If we do that, we should have the right shape. All right, so that works. Now we have to push this 50% from whatever our width is. So if our width is 100, we need to say here minus 50. Let's save that, refresh. There we are. All right, I think that looks quite nice. Now what I want to do is I want to make it smart, or at least this one up, down, up, etc, etc. So what I need to do here is we need to play probably with this number or that number here. So how are we going to do that? Well, let me check. We probably have to create like a statement that if it's odd, it goes up, or well, let's say even. So 0 is considered even, this is odd, and then again number 2 will be even. So if it's even, up, if it's odd, we're going to push it down. So we need to make that statement. So how do we do that statement? Well, what I will do is first, I say here, the let y position. Because we're dealing only with one position, it's the y position. Y up or y down. So we'll say here, by default, the y position is, I guess, negative 50 or maybe negative 100. Let's keep it 100 for now. Negative 100. And, well, we can do 100, that's fine. And then what I would like to do is, I'm going to say if, and then we're going to say here, if the index that we have, we get the modulo of that. The modulo would basically calculate how many times can it divide by 2, and if it does divide by 2, will it go to the value of 0? Since if it's even, it will go to 0. If it's odd, it will go to the value of 1. It's very straightforward. So if it's, and based on that, we can check if something's odd or not. Odd or even, very straightforward. So we say it needs to go to 0. So if it is 0, in that case, the y position will be renumbered to a negative. So we do the opposite. I guess say 100, but I think here maybe we need a negative 150 or something like that. Well, I'll leave 100. Maybe this should be then 50 because the reason why is when you push like what we did here, it starts here going down, but here the opposite. If this is 50, then it will just start here and going downwards. So probably this should be the right structure. All right, so I'm going to grab this, and then I'm going to say here, maybe just do a plus, right? Because we have here the negative already built in, and I think we can do that same here. Plus that one. Let's see if this works. All right, there we are. All right, beautiful. So now we have the logic. The logic works very nicely. Let's put in some text. So we had here the year, and maybe for the year here for the Y, let's say 20 or 2000. Let's put in here 2020, and this one will be 2025. I'm just making up as I go. Oh, sorry. No, that's not what I want to do. What I want to do is, because this is the Y, so if we're changing that, we'll get a conflict here. So that's not allowed. My bad. I'm going to say here, we're just going to add up another value in this object. We'll say your text, and that text will be 2000 or year 2000, etc., etc. So whatever this text is, I want to extract that and put that in my tooltip. That makes the most sense. So I say year to 25. 2020. All right. Now, how do I get the text in there? So what I want to do is I want to make a circle similar to this, but or similar with the colors like that, but then a circle in the tooltip and then put a text beside it. So let's start to go on the next part, which would be, I guess, the circle. But to do this, I need to explain something what chart.js does. So let me just activate our tooltip. If you look here, you can see in chart.js, the background color of this blue or whatever the legend color would be, is very visible. And the reason why is they put a white square or white shape behind it before they draw that. And that's the only way. If not, this color here, which is slightly transparent, would see a dark hue behind that. That makes all sense. So what we have to do is, same logic, we're going to put a white, in this case I'll make a circle, so we're going to put a white circle first, and then on top of the white circle we're going to put these legend designs. So let's put that back, circle white, and then we say here after circle color. Very straightforward. So for that, luckily that's quite easy. We always say here first of all is ctx.beginPath. We're going to create a new shape independent of anything else. Then I'm going to say a ctx.fillStyle, and the style is white. We're going to make a white colored background circle. Then I'm going to say here ctx.round, well, not rectangle, but arc. Let's do the arc, because we want to create a circle, which is set by the arc. And then in here, I'm going to get the x, the y, the radius, and then here the angle, start, angle, end, and then counterclockwise yes or no. In this case, false, doesn't even matter. We're going to make a full circle anyway. Doesn't matter which order it will be, but just put it in false, that's fine. For the angle, start, we'll say 0, and we know that math.pi, or a full circle is 2 pi. So we say math.pi multiplied by 2, that makes a full circle. A half pi is 180 degrees, 2 pi, half pi, or 1 pi is 180 degrees, so 2 pi is 360. So that's, I'm just doing it like that, very straightforward. Now, for x and y coordinates, this one is of course a little bit more tricky. So what I'm going to do is just going to grab these here. So I'm going to grab this item here, put it in there, and then we're going to play around to make sure we reposition them correctly. Let's do this first. I'm going to say here that we're going to fill up this shape. Save, refresh. Alright, interesting. We're not getting any response because the radius doesn't exist. Yes, that is correct. Where's the radius here? Nowhere. I'll give it 5 pixels in radius, so it's a 10 pixel full circle. But we don't see it yet. I think it's, if you look at it, probably somewhere here. It's a bit of a weird position yet. If I make this red, we should be seeing something. Oh, save, refresh. There we are. Now let's push that downwards and more to the right. So what I'm going to say here, I like the position here, but I'll say a plus, let's say 6 pixels. So I'm pushing it more to the right, 6 pixels to the right. All right, I think that's quite good. Then I'm going to say here, I want it down. So I say another 6 pixels. See if that works. We're still too close, so I don't like it. I'll make this 10 pixels and this one as well 10 pixels. So we have some padding around there. All right, to be honest, that is a quite decent position. I'll take that. So now what I need to do is just make it white. Save that. Then I want to have the color on top of it. So the color on top of it here will be based on our data set here. Background color, border color. Luckily, we know the index number, so it will be very straightforward. We have access to the data here, so data index is there straight away. So what we can do here is for this circled color, and this is the background color, I'm going to say data.data sets. We only have one data set in here, and then we're going to say here the data and the index would be index. We already have that because it will grab only that specific one. And then once I did this, let's see what we need more. That's the color. Let's grab this. Oh no, sorry, we don't want to grab this. We have the data. Are we getting? No, I want to get the border color or the background color. So I don't need the data here, but what I need is data sets, and then border background color first. So not the data, my bad. Then I want to do is grab this. I'm going to say here not fill but stroke because I want the border as well. Stroke style, say here border color. Then what I want to do here is not only fill, I want to have ctx.stroke to draw this. Finally, what is the thickness of this border? Let's say here ctx.line width, and this will be maybe 2 pixels. Save that, refresh. All right, I think we have it. Got a winner here. So final item. Let's make the text and then we're straightforward, and then we're done. So for the text, I want to extract these items here, and this could be anything, text, ABC, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, what we're going to do here now is text. And for the text, we're going to first say ctx.font. Going to define what we want for this. Do we want it bold? In this case, yes, so we put it in bold. Then I'll say here 12 pixels and then the default chartjs font. Alright, so once I've got this, then I want to have the fill style, and for the fill style I'm just going to grab this because I want to draw the entire item. However, I don't want the background color because that has a slight transparent color. I want the border color set. So once I've done that, the next thing is start to draw the item. So I say ctx.fill text. To draw the text, what I'm going to do here is will be whatever the text will be, the x and the y. So once I did that, save, refresh. Of course, text doesn't exist. All of these or these values doesn't exist yet. We're close to it because you can see we have this structure already. So probably we can get this. This is the x and y value. This is the x, so let's put that in first. And I'm going to grab here the y. I'm sure we still need to play around with that, but don't worry, we're going to get that done. Save, refresh. Alright, the text here, maybe if you wanted white, could change it here. Since we know that we have a radius of 5, that means that the length of the circle from left to right is 10 pixels plus a line width of 2. That will mean 2 pixels on the left side, 2 pixels on the right side. That is basically 2 plus 5 plus 5 plus 2. That's basically how it is. That's 14 pixels. 14 pixels plus additional padding. Let's say 6 pixels. We'll make it so there will be 20 pixels more to the right. So I'm going to say 20 pixels more. Just put in that there. Save that. Let's see if this would give us a better position. To be honest, that's way too much. I want to go back. Let's make it 16. Let's see if that maybe is better. Alright, that is still a bit a lot, I guess. I was expecting it to be quite decent, but no. All right, I think 10 pixels would be more than sufficient. I was expecting it to be more further off, but anyway, that looks quite nice, and I think now we have it, except I want to extract the value. To extract that value of the text, what I'm going to do here is basically grab all of this, put it in here. There's a data set, so then here, data with the index, and then here, dot, let's see, what do we need to get? The text. So data.text will give us the matching text here. Save, refresh. All right, so as you can see here, one is longer than the others. We could even play around with the width of the tooltip. I'll leave it, but that's basically a measure text item. If that's a request, just let me know. Put it in the comment section. I'll make sure to make an update on that or a part 2. And that's basically it.